tell me about what spirituality means to you?
This is a very appropriate question for me, especially because I grew up in an environment that was totally without any spirituality. Yet at the same time, I always felt something, even from a very, very young age, like 4, 5, and 6 years old. I always felt something, but I could never find an expression for it. It was just an unprompted internal knowledge, which was also inexpressible because I really didn't have any words for it or anything. It was just feeling inside myself. So for me, my current state of spirituality is both a confirmation of all of those years that I spent searching without even knowing what I was searching for, and also, excuse me, and also a coming home. Because when I discovered the Sufi message of Inayat Khan, it was like that. I felt like, oh, this is what I've been looking for all along, and I didn't even know that I was looking for it. And then as my knowledge of that evolved, I learned more about Islam and found that was even a deeper room within the home that I had found. And so now I have a home and I have my own room. And that's spirituality to me, is like being at home.
Yeah. Well, spirituality for me was totally opposite to what Imam's is, because the air I breathed in, there was Sufism all in there. Since I am seventh generation of a Sufi, and I come from that Sufi religious background with the Khanka and with the Qawwali and with Sama and with everything that was there. But what happened with me is that I was sent to a boarding house, a boarding school. And during those days when I was growing up, a lot of new philosophies from within the Islam were imported to Pakistan, and those teachers who were imparting the religious education, they were from those Islamic philosophies which consider Sufism or Sufis as heretics. So there was a conflict within me that whatever was being told to me or taught to me in the school was totally different from what my family was practicing for all these centuries. And me being a young lad, I was at best, you can call, a confused youth. I thought that probably my teacher is saying good, and my parents and my family, they doesn't know, so I was kind of a rebellious person. And out of this confusion, all of a sudden my travel starts, and I did not find spirituality, but spirituality found me, and it took me from my ear and get me back to my land and to my people. And I thought that it was seeking me, brought me back to my own roots. And unlike Imam, who studied Islam afterwards, I started living Islam, because I knew Islam from my family. I was born as a Muslim child. I was taught Islam in the school, and even on the media I mean, Pakistan is an Islamic republic, so now you can understand that I do not have to study Islam, but I had to live Islam. So my spirituality, the journey of spirituality is the same, that Tasawwuf and the Sufism is the same. But it was different in that case, that I started living it. Whatever I was reading was not enough. That made me confused, because I was reading the both sides, right? And partially I lived 4 or 5 years on the opposite philosophy, not on the Sufi principles. So then I found that, I started living it. And that's where I learned that this is not only the thing to read. Reading is very easy, right? Living is difficult. And Islam was not the thing to read only, it was the thing, and it is, and this is my belief, that this is the way of the life. The conduct mattered, right? And things were totally different. Cleaning your body, no matter how great literature you read on cleaning, until and unless you purify yourself, right? Even for the exterior, even if you do not go to the shower room, you won't be clean. So I found that it is not the intellectual pursuit only for me. Now I have to live it. And that is where I think that's spirituality for me. That if it is not in your living, if it is not in your practice, right, then it is a mere intellectual pursuit that can give you pleasure or a sort of a harmony for some time, but then again, after some time, it will become a revolving door. You'll go in, you'll go out, then again you are in the life where you have economic pressures or society or blah 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 this, and then you think that, okay, now I got to go for some retreat in some quiet place in that thing. No, it was like living in the middle of the city, in the life, the same. The life remained the same, the events remained the same, only that vision changed. Now I was looking at the things differently. That's what happened.
So you both spoke about your true selves and discovering the true self through spirituality. And I'm curious if you could tell me about the experiential part. You talked about how your religion is not just something you read and learn about, it's something that you experience. So what would you say to a beginner just starting off on the spiritual path about discovering the true self and how to put religion into an experience and not just a learning of knowledge or just a religion that's kept out of life? Like, how do you bring it into your life?
Well, religion in Western definition, it probably be something else, and Imam can relate to that. But religion, from the background from where I come from, it is actually the way of life, right? And then you are talking about self, right, and self-grooming or whatever you are saying. It is also different somehow. Now I'm just thinking that this term of self in Arabic, it is nafs, right? And it is larger than this self thing as such, right? Self, and it is the same root of tanaffus. Tanaffus means breathing,
Breath, yeah.
breathing,
Yep.
right? And breathing is based on two principles. One is attraction. You inhale, right? And then you exhale. Attraction and
You have to have
repulsion.
both, yes.
You have to have both.
Yep.
Right. So it was and it is inhaling at the same time and exhaling at the same time. And there are the person who knows the Arabic language, probably he can just pick it up like this, that in what context you are using this term of nafs. For English speakers, sometimes it becomes really difficult for me to make them understand that I am talking about self, but not in that context which you are perceiving, or probably which you are aware of. Yeah. So self has traditionally, the Sufis say that it has 7 different patterns, right? Because the human being is now let me explain it to you. We have a gross reality, which is our human body, our physical shell, and then we have this most subtle reality, which we call as the spirit, right? So now these are 2 very different and very opposite entities as such, which are combined in that one human being, right? So that's how the traditionalists, they have explained me that, look, if there is fire and there is water, right, and they are 2 extreme opposites, now how you can bring them together? There is a barzakh, that's what is called, and that barzakh means that pot in which you put the water, right, and then you put the fire under it, right? So that pot, which is called as a barzakh, is the meeting point. Or if we want to say that, if let's say that the body is a black color, and for the sake of understanding, spirit is white. So when they come together and there is a meeting point, that area becomes gray. On one end it touches one extreme, and on the other end, on the other side, it touches the other extreme, right? So my nafs, myself, which is more closer to the spirit, right, that is also nafs, and that end which is touching my gross reality, right, my materialistic body, that is also myself, right? So this nafs which is near to my material existence, that is nafs-e ammara, or what we call as commanding self. And the other end which touches that subtle reality of mine is
Mutmainna.
nafs-e mutmainna, contented self.
Yeah, contented self.
Contented self. So
self at peace, or
yeah. And it's not about killing of the self, it is more about understanding of the self. So the more, as a beginner, because your question was like from the beginner, do not consider self as your enemy. First, try to see or try to check this the psychology of this animal, that software, right, how it operates, right, what are the qualities and the characteristics of this commanding self, and how you can find your way to actually traditionally, I mean, we say that this is like a horse, right, and you cannot go to your destination if you kill the horse. It is only to tame the horse and then ride that horse. Yeah, to tame the horse, you certainly have to take that horse for miles and miles of running. Sometimes you have to beat him, sometimes you have to give him little food. So that horse goes through different practices and is trained in such a way that you should have a smooth ride towards hereafter. But
inshallah.
Imam can explain you better.
I'm going to back up a little bit.
Yes.
Okay. Because the first thing that came into my mind and heart when you asked the question is that I was thinking, as you were saying that our stories were so different, I was thinking how similar they are actually. And the main point of the similarity was something that you said, which was that the spirituality came to you.
Yes.
Okay, because I felt the same way, although I didn't express it in that way. that my introduction to this path came totally. I was innocent. I didn't know it was coming. It just came, and so I was caught up in that. And that's one thing that I would hope that I would say for a person who thinks that they're standing at the beginning of the path, is that their patience is very important. And that's one thing that Nafs al-Amara needs to learn is patience, although it's very difficult, because the teacher, the path, the spiritual knowledge will come to the seeker who seeks it with sincerity. It does come. What you do with it after that sometimes is not under your control, and sometimes it is. But the thing that is the most important to remember, and I'll use the horse analogy as well, because Inayat Khan uses that. What Inayat Khan, he says the mind. He doesn't say the nafs in this case, but he says the mind. He says our mind is like a wild horse. Okay, it's powerful. It can run fast across miles and miles of the prairie or the desert or whatever, wherever it lives, and it has this tremendous heart inside of it that can power its will to go where it wants to. So if our mind is like that wild horse, what we need to do is to learn techniques, as was said, learn techniques to retain the power that it has, yet to keep it under our control.